Hello and welcome to our webinar, What Qualities Make a Good Surrogate Mother? My name is Carol Weathers and I am the founder and program director for Building Families. I have been involved in surrogacy arrangements for 20 years now. In that time, I have met hundreds of women who've wanted to become surrogate mothers, and I have managed several hundred successful arrangements. I expect that by the end of this webinar, you will have a better understanding of what qualities are important when choosing your surrogate mother and also give you some new things to consider. Please understand that my role here today is not to dispense legal, medical, or even psychological advice, as I am neither a lawyer, doctor, or psychologist. The information I am providing you here today comes from my many years of experience. It may seem like some of these topics are common sense or that it shouldn't even be necessary to inquire about them. But trust me when I tell you that they are all key to ensuring the surrogate mother is a good candidate, which ultimately can bring your arrangement to a successful end. Now let's move on to the webinar. Age is definitely a factor that should be considered when choosing your surrogate mother. Our criteria here at Building Families is that the woman be between the ages of 21 and 39. This really is the healthiest time to be pregnant. In independent arrangements, you'll find that there really is no limit. Most women are between the ages of 18 and 45. However, I strongly suggest that you get proof of age, just to be sure, because this leads to the next topic, which is the fertility stories that are out there. You've heard and certainly read headlines about women having babies at age 65 and even older. So with technology, namely assisted reproductive technology, the woman's ability to become pregnant far exceeds a safe age to carry a healthy pregnancy to term. The biggest concern overall is the health of the woman during the pregnancy, and age is definitely a factor when considering her health. There are age-related medical concerns like hypertension, because that's very common in older women. And if the woman has complications of any kind, then of course inevitably so can the baby. Most couples worry that a working mom will be too busy to take care of the pregnancy or even be available to them. But I really don't see this. There are some benefits, of course, working with a surrogate mom that works outside of the home, because often she has health insurance benefits at her job that may cover the surrogate pregnancy. And in addition, she most likely has child care and domestic assistance already in place as she is not home. So there's definitely a possible significant savings there. And one thing about working women is that they have a trait that is an excellent work ethic. They understand the responsibilities of arriving to appointments on time, for example, and promptly responding to correspondence and phone calls. Stay-at-home moms are great too, of course. They're really great for couples who want to have a lot of contact, who want to visit often, and because they tend to be a lot more available to their couple. Now, there's also financial savings if when she becomes disabled, say at the birth, everyone needs to take time off work at that point. But if she's not working, then there's no reimbursement for lost wages, and this can be significant, especially if there's bed rest involved or something like that. I have insurance benefits on here as well, like I do the married moms, working moms, because most often the husband's employer also offers insurance for the family, and so it may also cover the surrogate pregnancy. Now, one negative thing that I have encountered is that the stay-at-home moms do have a bit more difficulty arranging for long-term child care, as they are the primary caretaker. So they've not really needed to make these kinds of arrangements. So a couple can expect these costs to be on the higher end, as it will be a new enrollment, possibly in a daycare facility, or full-time in-home care, depending on the situation. When considering the marital status of the surrogate mom, there are some things to think about. For the married moms, the husbands are a built-in support system, of course, but I am speaking emotionally. They do work, and the husbands can't become the caregivers for the children or even the home. We require that the potential surrogate mom candidate provides us with at least 2 caregivers for her children, besides her husband, as part of the application process. A neat thing that happens is the relationship that develops between the intended father and the husband of the surrogate mom. This really gives the surrogate's husband an opportunity to feel a part of the process, which it's just really neat. Now, it's important to mention that I am speaking in general terms, and also in this respect, very specifically to building families. Of course, we realize that not all husbands are supportive. It's one thing to not understand why his wife would want to do this. It is another to not agree to support her during the process. We do an in-home study where we see the environment that the couple's baby will be growing in. And it also gives us the opportunity to meet with the husband and discuss this whole process, and of course meet the kids and check out the house and all of that. But if the husband has no interest in our visit or the process and just seems very disinterested, then the surrogate really is automatically disqualified. They have to understand that this does affect the entire family, and if really they're so naive to think that it doesn't, then they really haven't thought this through enough. Now, single moms, they tend to have good support systems. I say outside support because that obviously means there's no one in the home per se, but they typically live close to their family members, and they have really networked and figured out a way to get a support system because they need it anyway. So I find that their support system is as good as, if not better, than the married women. The second item is about the relationship status. They are either in a relationship already or they tend to avoid them when they're with us. But we understand that life continues to happen. So she may meet someone who is important to her. So we always counsel them about having her new partner tested before having sex. And the last part about a single mom is her responsibilities. Not only does a single mom work, but if the father of the children are not super involved in their lives, then she has to wear the hat of both mother and father on a regular basis. So this takes incredible effort and time, so her time may be less available for the intended parents. I mentioned support system in regards to whether the surrogate is married or single, but really the bottom line is that all surrogate moms have children and they have a home, and those things need to be cared for. I recommend, as I mentioned earlier, that a list be prepared with at least 2 additional child care providers. So that tells you that they've thought this through. The domestic assistance really is much easier, as you can find that on the internet very quickly. The worst case scenario should be addressed. And what's the worst case scenario? Well, obviously it can vary and there's a large range, but for us, I'll give you one story that comes to my mind, and that's Monica's. You can find her story on my website under Success Stories in the year 2000. She delivered in March 2000. So her situation was that she became pregnant with twins, which is wonderful. Obviously, everyone was super excited. But at 16 weeks, one of the bag of water started to leak. And as you can imagine, that's only 4 months. There's no way that she could deliver a viable pregnancy. I mean, the doctor said it just wasn't viable, actually, and said that we were probably going to miscarry. And after speaking with the parents, Monica offered to the mom, I want to do what you would do if you were in my shoes, because I'm doing this for you. So the mom asked her to do what she could to try to bring this to a successful end, because that is what she would have done. So here's Monica, who worked full-time, obviously has kids, both in elementary school, home to take care of a husband, and she went to bed that day and only got up really for doctor's appointments, and we had to take her in a wheelchair because the doctor wanted minimal activity, and she wanted to do everything, though, that possible to help these babies. And she made it all the way to like 32 weeks. It was amazing, really. And obviously it took its toll on her body. Poor thing, she did suffer some muscular atrophy and had to do some physical therapy after the delivery. But obviously it was worth it. It was an incredible thing that she did, and we have 2 babies here today because of her efforts. But but it was expensive. Obviously, this was extensive care for medically speaking and domestic assistance. But it was something that the couple, had to do to make this happen. Now, granted, it rarely happens, but it really can happen to anyone. So, you have to keep in mind that the child care, but other things such as her job, too, if she's employed, and hopefully her disability benefits take over and it's not super outrageous expensive, but these are just things that the couple have to consider. Now, the contract does limit what the liability is, of course, so it's really key to have it outlined specifically what the financial responsibilities are before a crisis occurs. This is best as it's impossible to negotiate fairly any time after the contract stage.